Welcome to Hope Community on Thursday nights for learning how to live healthy, even though we're living in a toxic world. And healthy living inspirations. Tonight's class is about sunlight, the light of life. This is actually a series that I am putting together. We're going to start from slide 1. Let me know if you can see my slides. All right. Can you see my slides? Thumbs up for yes. Okay, so all right, perfect. All right, sunlight, the light of life, part 1. Oh, great. You cannot see them. I don't know why that is not. Okay, it should. It's talking to it. Perfect. All right. So, it was once believed that the earth was the center of all attention, right? It was once believed that man was the center of all attention on the earth. In fact, some people still believe that. But in reality, we have seen the facts that the sun of the galaxy, everything circulates around the sun. So there is an order to God's creation. And there's a reason why we are to draw some powerful nutrition from the sun. I'm always very cautious when I see from a certain system, when I hear something that God created, and I hear it from a specific system saying that it's evil. I'm always cautious. So I go back and I ask, oh, well, why is this system saying God's creation is evil? So if you're told that stay out of the sun, that it is bad, if you go out into the sun, you need to wear sunscreen, you need to wear sunglasses, you need to wear hats, you need to protect your skin, you need to protect your eyes. That's only a partial truth. But in reality, we're going to learn some things that we glean from the sun. And because we've been told a misinformation for a number of years, we have avoided a key component to our process, our natural process of body health. And part of that is the sun. Remember, we talked about the 9 best doctors? And one of the 9 best doctors is sunlight. Isn't this a beautiful picture? I love this picture. So let's move right along. God's word says in John 8:12, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whosoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So in other words, his creation is an example of who he is. So if the sun is the center and all the planets circulate around the sun, then the sun must have a purpose, a planned purpose. It must play a role in our existence, in our health. So just like Jesus played a powerful role in our redemption. 1 John 1:5. This is the message we have heard from him and declare to you, God is light. Now, in the New Jerusalem, is there going to be a sun in the galaxy? No, because who is going to be the light? It is God that is going to emit the light, and there is no darkness found in him at all. Matthew 5:14, now here's where you transfer. So we are to be the sons of God, sons and daughters of God. We're in preparation to be the bride of Christ. And so he wants to transfer his light inside of us, which means that we have to go through a purification process of dispelling the darkness, right? Just like what I talked about in the previous class. So you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. See, if God gives you a little light, then what should we do with that little light? Remember our Sunday school song, This Little Light of Mine? We're going to let it shine. Hide it under a bushel? No. And in this business, we love sharing with people. We love sharing truth. Do you think that people deserve to know the truth? Absolutely. Absolutely. So sunlight is a symbol of God's love. Sunlight can be seen as a representation of God's unconditional love and kindness toward us. So every time you look toward the sun, I want us to be mindful that that is God's love kissing us on our skin, kissing us in our eyes. The eyes are what? The window to the soul. What does he say in his word? You are the apple of my eye. Just as the warm rays of the sun nurtures plants and animals, God's love nurtures our souls. We can reflect on how his care shines down on us daily, helping us grow in ways we might not even recognize. As we walk together in faith, let's embrace the comforting embrace of God's love lighting our lives and hearts. I love this business because this is exactly what we do. We are able to let God's love and his light shine. How many here have ever been to one of our conferences where we actually lit a candle and we transferred that light to one another as we shared with another person, and then that person took and lit a candle with someone else? That's a powerful spiritual experience, isn't it? And who was it? Stormy or Marty, I believe, that sang the song, Light My Candle. And so we're embracing God's love and we're sharing God's love. It's a community of love. It's a community of light. It's a safe gathering place powered by the light and the love of God. I want a show of hands. How many here felt God's love at the conference? Amen. Amen. It was awesome. So the bright idea. Well, the enemy wants to exchange our genuine light for something artificial, right? He's always up to something. Remember, he likes to negotiate. He likes to debate. He likes to sit in the courtrooms and check out all the laws and monitor your life so that he can find a way, a portal, in order to exchange the truth for a lie. A bright idea. Well, somebody had a bright idea. Congress mandated the end of the common incandescent light bulbs. I'm not going to name the administration that did that. Now the Environmental Protection Agency is warning us that, by the way, all these brand new light bulbs that y'all have switched to is dangerous. It's toxic. If you break them, you have to call in the EPA, and actually they come in with a hazmat suit. They warn you, do not vacuum it up if the light bulbs break on the floor because it's emitting mercury. And so, especially if you have animals around on the floor, if you have children, if you have pregnant women, research found that after a bulb is broken, mercury vapor is exposed into the air, and the guidelines are exceeding 100-fold. Oh my goodness. I don't know about you all, but when they mandated this in a particular political administration, I ran to the store before they banned them, and I bought about 30 years worth of incandescent light bulbs. I'm the weird one. And to this day, I've got 3 cases of these light bulbs in my house. I didn't want any LED light emitting diode in my home for this reason. Toxic fumes often remained after a cleanup was attempted. Vacuuming should never be done because it just disperses the mercury into the air. Some states banned the disposal of these bulbs in trash cans. meaning you could not put a fluorescent bulb or an LED light bulb inside a trash can. What a strange world that we live in, that they ban incandescent light bulbs in order to force you to buy their LED, all in the name of energy efficiency. At the same time, they are toxically poisoning the entire environment. Now, what a strange world we live in. We take a measure to prevent global warming, a result in potentially exposing our children to one of the most toxic substances known on earth. Well, let's take a look. Banning and then legal. Oh my goodness. I'm always leery when a specific evil empire system says that what God created is evil and what they created at a lab is good. That's just common sense. To say, oh, wait a minute, I need to question that. Digitally dead in the head. Studies of the impact of blue light on healthy adults show that it inhibits melatonin. And part two, I'm going to actually dive deeper into the melatonin and what it does in your circadian rhythms and everything. But tonight, I'm just going to cover some basics and a few other things. Secretion, which disrupts the sleep, can affect the quality of your physical and mental health, susceptibility to illness. Previous sleep disorders in children, adolescents show clear, consistent relationship between sleep disorders and frequency of digital devices. So in other words, we're living in a time where we're inundated with the blue light through our digital devices. From if you go to an airport, you have to look on screens about your flight that's emitted by blue light. If you're sitting in a store, have you ever walked into a store and you felt uncomfortable, or you felt like brain fog just hit you, or you felt like somebody just pulled the drain on you and all your energy was drained out, or you felt like a bit depressed and you're walking around in a store and you're feeling, why am I feeling this way? I'm teaching you how to ask these questions. Many times it's because of the lighting in the store. It also may be because of the music that they're playing, or the message, subliminal messaging in the background. Target was caught doing that. Target was caught doing subliminal messaging to influence your buying and your purchasing. And they actually have cameras that track your eye movement to find out what you're looking at on the shelf. Oh my goodness. So do you want to be digitally dead in the head, or do you want to be sharp and alert and clear and concise? So what kind of exposure do we have? LEDs are now used in devices. If you're driving down the road at night, you're being faced on the other side with LED blue emitting light. From traffic lights, during the C word, I wept driving up and down the road because I saw them taking down the incandescent street lightings and putting up the brand new LED lighting. And I just wept because I knew that it had devices to track you, number one. It was going to be connected to the 5G, 6G, all of the above. And I knew, and have you noticed, by the way, after about 3 or 4 years that they've done this, have you ever noticed when you're driving, you have an outside light that starts to flicker? Everywhere I go, I see an LED light that's gone bad, and it's flickering, 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 flickering. There's one on Kathleen Road on the left-hand side. I hate it. When I go around that corner, I deliberately look to the right because I can't stand to see that flicker light that's off that warehouse there. So in other words, when they start to malfunction, they flicker, and they can flicker for months and months and months before they switch out the bulbs. Well, we're going to learn that they're flickering anyhow. Advertising, billboards, glow sticks, cameras, flashes, ships, navigation lights, stadium, railway stations, airport streetlights. This means that our exposure is being inundated with this blue light. Now, is this going to affect our health? Absolutely. So let's take a look at the spectrum. I actually did the violet, blue, green, yellow, orange. And the key is, I highlighted the word here, balance. Here's the key, is balance. We want a balance. When you look at the rainbow and all of the color spectrum of the rainbow, it's a balance. When you look at the UVB lights and the rays of the colors from the sun, it's all within a spectrum of balance. There are blue rays that come from the sun, but it also has a balance of red and orange and yellow. When you're using the LED lights, it's only blue. It's hitting you with only the blue. So it's all about an imbalance. Sunlight is made up of red, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet when combined. And they actually emit with a certain energy and a certain wavelength. Rays on red and have longer wavelengths, less energy. So it's all about balance. I want you to see it's about balance. See, when you replace something that's natural to the body, that's found in nature, with something that's synthetic, you'll always throw the body out of balance, because the body doesn't know how to deal with something that is pathetically synthetic. Beneficial near infrared, for example, is ever present in sunlight, making up 43% of its total radiation energy. The blue light under the sun is never a solitary event. And this is one of the German doctors has done some heavy research on the blue light and its dangers to the human health. If you're using high intensity blue light from LED, this doctor says the problem is that there's no balance, no compensation to offset the damage of being targeted with the blue light. So yes, you're getting targeted. So how does blue light affect human health? Blue light is the main signal for our vision and non-vision systems to find out if it's day or night. So in other words, it's affecting your circadian rhythms. And this is what Dr. Wunsch is talking about, which is one of the masterminds that's written a lot of the books and the studies on light and energy from Germany. The problem is, he's saying, quote, "We're able to produce artificial light with a significant amount of blue, which signals to our system that it's in the middle of the day." So if your body says it's the middle of the day, it's the middle of the day, it's the middle of the day, and it's midnight, then your melatonin will never release and you'll never go to sleep. Your cycles get off. And we're going to share in part 2 and part 3 more in depth of how that plays out in our daily life. So in other words, your sleep is disrupted. And when your sleep is disrupted, then it throws everything off. Several studies demonstrate that even low exposures to blue rich light in the evening can affect our finely tuned circadian clock, delaying or inhibiting nocturnal melatonin production and throwing off sleep patterns and quality off kilter. So in other words, what did our great-grandparents do that did not have electricity? They lit a candle, which is incandescent yellow light, right? So this would set the tone. They rose just before sunrise. They were out in the fields as the sun would peak over the horizon, and then they would work until the sun set, and then they would light the candle, finish up the chores, and then go to bed, and then rise and repeat. Eyesight damage. So I've had one of the world's leading retina specialists tell me we're all going to be blind because nobody's protecting their eyes from the blue light rays. I have blue blockers. I do not look at my computer or my phone. This is just simple 150 magnification, but I use them every time I look at a screen and look at my phone because I want to help protect my retina from the blue ray damage. Acute exposure to intense blue light may also lead to eye damage, partial vision loss, or total vision loss. A 2018 study found that shortwave light, blue light, is closely related to eye light damage. This high energy blue light passes through the cornea and lens to the retina, causing disease such as dry eyes. We have an absolute epidemic of dry eyes. If somebody could invent a drug that would cure dry eyes, it would be a multi-bajillionaire because everybody seems to have dry eyes. Cataract and macular degeneration are all linked to being inundated with this blue light rays. Depression to diabetes, but wait a minute, it not only affects your sleep, and we're going to learn why your circadian rhythms actually can go in and affect your mitochondria and how it affects your metabolic system. And taking a look here, how about depression to diabetes? That the blue light affects everything from depression to diabetes. Studies have shown that blue light induced body clock disruption may be linked to a whole range of mental and physical health conditions such as depression, diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and cancer. These are studies that Dr. Alexander Walsh has done. LEDs produce more blue light because the primary light source is white light. LEDs is a blue LED. The unique characteristics of LED enable them to emit more short wavelength light known as blue rich light. The blue rich light is more intense than the other light sources, leading to an undesirable effect on humans' health and the environment. They're finding that birds get confused, animals get confused because of outdoor lighting with the LED. So animals are getting confused, birds are getting confused. Studies on blue light intensity. In 2019, the French National Agency for Food, Environmental, and Occupational Health and Safety published this on a report, Health Effects and Potential Hazards. The accumulation of several years of research, including analysis over 600. I'm going to skip all that just to let you know that what I'm quoting here is a valid study, but I'm going to read the highlight. The toxicity of blue light to the eye, which can lead to failing eyesight and an increased risk of developing age-related macular degeneration, as well as the ability to even very low levels of exposure to blue light in the evening or at night, to adversely affecting sleep duration and quality. This is huge. It's huge. Headaches, how about headaches in schools? I'm sure Denisha can attest to that. Headaches, visual impairment, risk of accidents, because they're on computers, smartphones, and tablets that are all sourced with blue light. Following its findings, they recommend, the French are recommending to eliminate these devices in their country and to limit and restrict the children's exposure to blue light. Wow. Recommendations following its findings: restricting the sale of blue light devices and limiting the intensity of vehicle lights. How many here are aware? I'm not quite remembering. Does anybody here know who ran when Kennedy ran for president, who his running mate was, the woman that was his running mate? Somebody could look that up for me. But anyhow, she was a lawyer that actually put in place and position for all of our devices to be emitted through blue light. And so she has now, since then, she has seen the evil of that choice and decision, because she was the lawyer for Silicon Valley, and Google to make the decision to use blue light as the main source of emitting off of our devices. You should hear her speeches now. You should hear her talk now. She's very sorrowful and she's very repentant in the sense that she knows that she was used to force something that has now caused an immense amount of damage. So in other words, the blue light has a flickering effect. And it's just enough to where the eyes cannot detect it within the visual aspect, but the eyes can detect it on the non-visual aspect. So it's constantly flickering, constantly flickering. The flicker will make you sicker. The problem with light flicker in LEDs, natural light sources do not pulse. Incandescent lights do not pulse, but a blue light does. Artificial light sources, the other hand, can generate imperceptible flickering. LED lamps, for example, are super sensitive to fluctuations in electrical currents, causing a phenomenon known as temporal light modulation. In the Human Optimizing Lighting Guide, I'm not going to read over that, but I'm going to read the highlight. Imperceptible light flickering from LED can lead to headaches, visual fatigue, migraines, and ultimately to, get this, hormone disruption. So in other words, this can be contributed to such thing as a phenomena of all these young girls having PCOS. You know, I'm just making connections to a hormone disruptors that is in our environment that wasn't there 20 years ago, but is in everybody's hand today. Because of stress on the hypothalamus, the pituitary glands, explains Brian. These glands depend on the eyes for signals from the light environment to regulate circadian biology and the nervous system rest and digest, or fight or flight response. And my earlier class, we talked about that's part of the reptilian brain, which is fight or flight, shutting down your other normal processes in the brain. So the blue light and the flicker of the blue light keeps you on fight or flight rather than rest and digest. So this can be what's attributing to a lot of our hormonal issues that we're having. Again, a lot of our symptomatic things that are happening inside the body. Light your candle. Here actually is a healthier option, BioLight, full spectrum light. So what you want to do is start adding the yellows, the orange, and the red into the mix and into the picture for your light bulbs. This is an option replicating the same balance of visual color spectrum as natural light. The full spectrum day mode boosts daytime energy. So it's 100% blue light free amber light. And you can write down this BioLight. It's a trademark of the BioLight full spectrum. There's several online. I just picked this one, not because I purchased it and I've validated or verified it, but I just went looking and this one I did find. This one right here is specifically designed for your bedroom in the evening to actually calm your rest and digest system and to release the melatonin inside of your glandular system to get you ready for your sleep and rest times. Sweet Dreams, this is a light with a little more of the red, blue light free, low EMF. zero flicker. Here's your point. You got to have the amber lighting mixed with it, and you have to have a zero flickering. How many here like it when somebody flicks you off? Nobody likes it when you get flicked off, okay, especially when you're driving. So, it's interesting to note that your laptop and your phone and your television and all of these LED lights are flicking you off constantly, irritating you, agitating you. All right, so this is actually a color of light that you would want to put in your bedroom as you're resting and digesting. So healthiest artificial light, the healthiest light bulbs is incandescent halogen, what we used to have before an administration banned them. And one of the first things that the new administration did, and I have no political affiliation, I'm just telling the facts, is that they actually released the manufacturing and the sale of halogen light bulbs again. Yay. An electrical current heats the base of an incandescent light bulb, which produces heat and visual light when conducted through the filament house inside. When we say incandescent light bulbs, they're the closest thing to nature and to sunlight. We were kidding. An active incandescent makes one as very much the same, and our body recognizes this light on its own. An incandescent or halogen light bulb produces the purest, most natural form of artificial lighting. Now, a lot of our symptoms that we see as chronic diseases today started occurring when we started hanging the power lines across the United States and bringing the artificial light inside the home instead of letting nature be our cycle and letting that natural light from a candle be our source, because it sets mood, creativity, overall sense of well-being, because you don't have to fear the concentration of blue light that disrupts and interrupts your sleep programs. You also can add an infrared light. This is just a source of a sauna space proton red filtered light therapy lamp. There's a lot of them out there. I personally haven't done a lot of research, or some of them that are better than others. You'll have to do your own research on it. But this is an option in order to get an infrared light into the room and run it at all times, and have a place where you can open up the windows and get some of the outdoor inside. And obviously it's not that easy to do when it's 105 degrees outside. But we're going to talk more about that and how we can get that done. So real sunlight is always the best because it delivers the highest benefit, the highest volume of health and energy and regeneration to the body. It is quite amazing. Real sunlight from sunrise to about 10 a.m., at least 20 minutes a day, with as much of skin exposed, looking. You don't have to look directly into the sun, but your eyes are open. Your pupil of your eye is receiving those light rays, and it's a complete spectrum of light rays that's actually setting your body clock for the entire day. Don't you always feel better when you have been out in the sun in the morning? I know the people that get out in the fields early in the morning, the people that, let's say, fish early in the morning, the best time is the sunrise. Sunlight and darkness, let's talk about something that the sunlight gives. This is part one. We're going to talk about vitamin D. One of the things that sunlight gives to us is vitamin D. One of our biggest deficiencies, especially in America, is vitamin D. What did they say? That every person that passed away from the C word was deficient in what? Vitamin D. Oh my goodness. So sunlight exposure is contributed to good health and good sources of vitamin D. When skin is exposed to sunlight, vitamin D forms. Vitamin D acts like a hormone in the body. Vitamin D is then absorbed into the body through the sunlight. Large quantities of vitamin D can be produced within relatively very short periods of time on the skin with strong sun exposure. Depending upon the time of year, how close you are to the equator and the latitudes, little or no vitamin D is formed. The further north that you are, individuals living in northern altitudes are often vitamin D deficient. So those who spend most of their time indoors are also deficient. Physicians are increasingly aware of the importance of supplementing with vitamin D for long-term health. The pineal gland also, what does the sun give you? It gives you the release of melatonin, which is also a very powerful hormone. And it's not only a powerful hormone, but it's a powerful antioxidant. So let's take a look at what this hormone, amazing hormone and antioxidant does. A hormone regulated by sunlight is melatonin. The pineal melatonin has been described as the chemical expression of darkness. Blue light inhibits the production of melatonin. So in other words, when you're constantly in front of the screens, in front of your devices, then your pineal gland says, it's still daylight, don't release melatonin. It's still daylight, don't release melatonin. So you're sending the wrong signals to the body, and it's actually affecting the entire circadian rhythms of your body. And we'll talk more about that in part 2. But while darkness increases pineal expression of the hormone, the pineal melatonin regulates sleep and wake cycles, adaptation to the different seasons. So this is not just about going to sleep. This is about the body flowing and journeying through all seasons in life. And expressions, regulating. It regulates when animals go into hibernation. And melatonin comes not only from the pineal gland, but can also be found in foods, can be synthesized by bacteria in the digestive tract. This is why vitamin D is essential, because vitamin D actually helps with the good gut bacteria in the gut. Many times they say leaky gut syndrome is a deficiency in vitamin D, because it's required to have that vitamin D to have those junctures in your gut tightly fitting together. And when there's a deficiency in D, it breaks apart, and proteins, undigested proteins, are prematurely released into the bloodstream, causing a lot of problems. So so it can be, okay, so the site of melatonin within the cells is the mitochondria, where energy is produced. So when you get to the end of this road on how sunlight triggers and an expression in the body of a release and a manufacturing of a hormone as powerful as melatonin and as powerful as vitamin D, then you see at the end of the road, you see that it actually affects the mitochondria. Now, I don't, the mitochondria is the king. It sits on the throne. It is the energy factory of every cell. And when it is affected, meaning its energy source is depleted, then guess what happens? You fall into diabetes, heart disease, cancer, which is all the covering of metabolic syndrome. So this is just what we see here. And you can see from the pineal gland right here, the melatonin, sleep melatonin, pineal gland, and how it affects every aspect of your life. So melatonin, oh my goodness, let's take a look, is different from other antioxidants in the body. We've learned that vitamin E will last 1, 2, 3 months and keep working and working and working. And it's usually 1-to-1 ratio of neutralizing oxidative stress. But a melatonin has the ability to gather a bundle of oxidized cells and neutralize them and keep on ticking and keep on working. Is different from most other antioxidants in that nature. It's not 1-to-1 combat. It's kind of like having a gun with a single bullet against your enemy versus a machine gun that can actually take out an entire troop, or landing and dropping a bomb that can take out an entire city. One molecule of melatonin can grab up to 10 free radicals, while vitamin C, a highly effective antioxidant, can only grab 1 or 2. Same thing with vitamin E. The reason for this is that many antioxidants can demonstrate free radical activity themselves. Now, this is very interesting, but a free radical damage can be so influencing in the body that it can talk an antioxidant into become an oxidative stress. Now, that's called end-time deception at the cell level. So, but a melatonin, I don't know about y'all, but I want to be a daughter of the king, melatonin, daughter of the king. One that cannot be talked out of being an antioxidant. Wow. So the reason for this is that many antioxidants can demonstrate free radicals. By contrast, when melatonin interacts with a free radical, the byproduct also is antioxidant activity, resulting in a cascade or chain reaction of antioxidant activity. In other words, you cannot talk a melatonin into becoming an oxidative stressor. And furthermore, it gets mad when you try to talk it into becoming the enemy, and it takes out more of the enemy. Now, how many here want to become an end time melatonin? Let your light so shine. Hallelujah. So one can see the advantage of this in a place like the mitochondria. So in other words, it's going to defend the most important energy factory in every single cell, which is the mitochondria, where large quantities of free radicals are actually formed. And when the mitochondria gets damaged, that's where you have metabolic disorder, and that's where you culminate into the chronic diseases that we see that we're facing today: cancer, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, neurological issues, all of the above. Melatonin is also both fat. Oh, I love this, because it can swoop up the bad guys, whether it's sailing on the ocean, on the water, or whether it's dipping into the oil. So a lot of oil-based antioxidants can only operate in your body where you have fats. And a lot of water-based can only operate where you have water. But a melatonin has the ability to go land and sea and dive deep and come up shouting and gather up the bad guys and neutralize the damage. This is why melatonin is not been talked about very much until recently, because it plays a major effect on the C word, and everybody started saying, "Oh, you need to go out and get melatonin." We're going to talk about why we're not going to do that. But melatonin is both fat and water soluble. It functions in the different locations in the body. Wow. This is one of the reasons why don't you feel a very good sense of well-being around a campfire? Everybody loves a campfire. Everybody loves the beat, the frequency, the flow, the energy of a campfire. Why? Because it's emitting that golden glow, the reds, the orange, the yellow. It's a natural light, and it's actually lifting your dopamine and it's releasing melatonin. So what did the Native Americans do before they went to bed? They gathered around the campfire before they went into the teepee for the night. So the campfire has a very, I don't know about you, but when the C word started, I built me a campfire out my backyard because I said, okay, they may restrict here, they may lock us down there. We don't know what's going on in the world. We don't have a framework for this. We don't know what's happening. I'm going to build me a campfire. Why? Because it settles the soul. It releases that melatonin, releases the dopamine, releases those good, happy hormones that actually gives you a calming effect to the anxiety because you're unsettled. You don't know what's happening in the world today. You don't know what's happening outside of your little space. But when you're sitting in front of a campfire, you feel safe. You feel a calm sense of well-being. This is why the campfire songs of the 60s and the 70s were all about love, child, and all of the above. The problem was they experimented in all the drugs instead of giving worship to the creator. But near infrared radiation is a portion of electromagnetic spectrum nearest to, but just beyond the ability of the human eye to detect. Near infrared radiation produces a noticeable heat sensation in people and can heat objects without heating the air. Fire is a natural source of near infrared radiation. So it's a great source to calm you down. This is why the candle, a lot of times if you're having sleep deprivation, light a candle, turn out all lights, all devices, take a hot bath, soak in some Epsom salt, get some magnesium in you, light a candle. So the trigger for production of melatonin with the mitochondria is exposure to near infrared radiation from sunlight and campfires. So what are you going to get at night? The campfire. What do you get in the morning? The sunrise. Do you see the cycles of our Native Americans that they would go to bed with a campfire infrared, and then they would wake up in the morning with the sun infrared? So they had the energy, they had the stamina, they had the strength, they had the antioxidant ability to withstand. So 70% of the protons coming from sunlight are near infrared, and only 2% are blue. So you look at the synthetic LEDs, it's almost 100% blue. And natural light, it's 2% versus 98%. Do you see the flipping side of that? Until the 1950s, most human light source produced near infrared light. So what has happened since the 1950s? We've changed our food and we've changed our lighting. And we've neglected a natural law that God put in place and in position for us to depend upon the fire. What did God supply for the children of Israel? A fire by night. Do you know what that fire did by night? It helped them sleep in peace as they were wandering in the wilderness. He loved them that much that he supplied a light emitting source that granted them sweet peace. Wow. Since then, humans are spending 93% of their time indoors with lighting that produces little or no infrared lighting. Exposure to sunlight during the daytime is as important for production of melatonin with the mitochondria, the energy factory of the cells in the daytime, as exposure to darkness at night. So in other words, your melatonin it's as important to see a sunrise as it is to see a flickering fire. Why do you think it became very, very popular, these artificial fireplaces? I mean, when I put a fire in my fireplace. I can't tell you how cozy and comfortable and at peace and at rest that I feel looking into the flames of that fire, praying, reading the Bible, talking with a friend, sipping a cup of tea. Oh my goodness, does anybody want to join me? Yes. So the energy factory of the cells in the daytime, exposure to darkness at night, is important to the production of melatonin by the pineal gland at night. The importance of melatonin is reflected by the number of health conditions which benefit from melatonin augmentation. So if you just augment that melatonin amount just a little bit, it tips the scale in a major, major way. Exposure to near infrared radiation is called photobiomodulation. It has been used to treat age-related macular degeneration. When I was just at the retina specialist in Clearwater, I asked the doctor there about this infrared therapy, and he gave me the name of a doctor, and he said, the USDA just approved one, and there's one doctor in the state of Florida that is using it. And he said he's getting great results. Wow. So let me just propose this, that if you have macular degeneration because of a strong exposure to blue light and an absence of the infrared light, then if you apply the infrared light, wouldn't that, maybe. Well, they've now clinically proven that it actually will reverse some of the damage, and they're using it now in some of the doctor's offices to reverse some of the damage from macular degeneration. So related, okay, so and soft tissue injuries to promote wound healing and even treat Alzheimer's. So it's pretty interesting how infrared therapy is used in the body because you're infrared. So if you want to get some healing, sit around a campfire. You want to get some healing, rise and shine with the sun every single morning and get some sunshine and set up your worship time in front of the sunrise. So sunlight, the ability of sunlight to boost melatonin production within the energy producing cells, protects those cells from damage by free radicals. The DNA of the mitochondria, which cells is much more susceptible to the damage from free radicals than is the DNA in the nucleus of the cell. In other words, you are protecting your mitochondria by exposing your eyes and your body to infrared light. Sunlight appears to play a key role in the ability to retain our energy production as we age. Oh my, as we age. So deficiency in vitamin D's will often be indicated by pain in the bones, osteopenia, osteoporosis, nerve and muscle irritability, tingling sensation, finger cramps, toes around the mouth, muscle cramping. Vitamin D deficiency has been associated with development of rickets in children, poor bone development, weak bones in adults. Low levels also are linked to the development of multiple sclerosis, high blood pressure, type 1, type 2 diabetes, and cancer of the colon, breast, prostate, and ovary. Oh my goodness, what does it not affect? Vitamin D. Food sources of vitamin D include cod liver oil, butter, and mushrooms are some of your highest forms of vitamin D. Wow. So let's take a look at more sources and information on vitamin D. Several studies of vitamin D. Deficiency of vitamin D, suffering from fibromyalgia. Supplementation of fibromyalgia patients with vitamin D appears to often provide quality of life. The article of Adrian Gombart in July of 2005, the journal offered explanation manner that vitamin D enhanced immunity. Article pointed out that vitamin D activity had a powerful antimicrobial peptide called cathelicidin. So there's a buzzword going on right now called peptides. Peptides. The latest thing is peptides, peptides, peptides. Vitamin D has the powerful ability to make antimicrobial peptides. And this cathelicidin is one of the most effective weapons used by the white blood cells to enable white blood cell defenders in the body to punch holes in the membranes of microbial invaders, causing their guts to spill out. And these are microbials, mold, bacteria, mycotoxins of all kinds of source that cause invaders and cause problems. It says it's one of the most effective weapons used by the white blood cells. Wow. So when the Research Administration talks about how much vitamin D, nothing turned, and they said, we didn't see anything that turned on these cathelicidin gene more than vitamin D. Wow, wow. And it really turned the gene on. It cranked it up, was completely surprised. This study, I'm just quoting a study here, was a complete surprise. So Gershwin and Associates, in a review of vitamin D and immune function, impaired vitamin D signaling, or inadequate vitamin D intake caused by genetic predisposition, polymorphism, environmental factors. You know what the environmental factor is? A lack of sunlight. The number one deficiency cause of vitamin D deficiency is a lack of sunlight. Oh my goodness. May contribute to onset of progressive autoimmune issues. The researchers suggest that at least 3 autoimmune diseases are attributed to a vitamin D deficiency, such as diabetes, systemic lupus erythematosus, and MS. This is huge. Oh my goodness. Wow. So bones and teeth. The most well-known function of vitamin D we think about as bones and teeth. Weston Price did this research worldwide on vitamin D deficiency and how it affected the teeth and the bone structure of different cultures, and the absorption of calcium. This studies have shown that vitamins B, C, E, and K are also necessary as collectors and supporters of vitamin D in the body, especially vitamin A, K2, and carotenoids. This tend to be all present in butter of a cow if the animal is living in what? Sunlight, eating the grass. If it's kept in a barn and never sees the sunlight, guess what? The vitamin D content of the butter coming from the cow or the milk coming from the cow is low. It's only common sense. Oh my goodness. This is why we do grass-fed butter, grass-fed milk. Chronic pain. About 1 in 5 Americans suffer chronic pain. Individuals, arthritis, muscle pain, widespread chronic pain from vitamin D deficiency. Studies have observed deficient vitamin D suffering fibromyalgia. We talked about that. Supplementation of fibromyalgia patients with vitamin D appears often to improve the quality of life. Wow. The C word and vitamin D. Michael, I'm just quoting studies. Michael Holick has estimated that increasing vitamin D levels by either supplementation or increased sun exposure could reduce risk of developing colorectal. I tell you, I'm seeing a surge of colorectal cancer like I've never seen in young women right now. Wow. Breast, prostate cancer, 30 to 50% in the 1980s, 1990s. Research identified strong negative correlation between latitude, sun exposure, poor levels of vitamin D, development. Oh my goodness, breast, ovary, colon, and melanoma type the C words, because of a vitamin D deficiency. Holick discusses a study in which men with prostate cancer supplemented with 2,000 units That's 2 of the Neolife vitamin D. 2,000 units. Their prostate specific antigen score dropped by 50% by just adding this regarding intake. It is essentially impossible to obtain adequate amounts of vitamin D, according to Holick and his studies. Vitamin D is required in both children and adults, and so it's essential. How about this one? This is another one that has absolutely gone wildfire. It is a plague amongst our young women, is PCOS. A hormone disorder caused by enlarged ovaries, small cysts, fibroids, heavy cycles, no cycles, painful cycles, endometriosis. Vitamin D deficiency is common amongst this polycystic ovarian syndrome. The study that they found that vitamin D supplementation could even affect insulin resistance, as diabetes, lipid metabolism, and to an extent, hyperandrogenism in patients with, therefore, vitamin D should be considered as a treatment for this. I'm just quoting you studies. Nutritional support with vitamin D, cofactors like magnesium support, calcium support, vitamin K support, D3. Wow, because they found that these women are seriously deficient in vitamin D. Why? Because they're seriously deficient in natural sunlight, but they're being radiated by blue light rays that's flickering. Remember, the blue light flicker causes hormone disruption. Are we getting the picture here? Defense, support, and detox. Neolife has a great legacy of Dr. Arthur First, who was responsible for the early development of the American College of Toxicology. He developed the BetaGuard, the phytodefense supplement, improved human ability to withstand high levels of these toxins we're exposed to day in and day out. BetaGuard is a broad spectrum natural antioxidant complex. Dr. First did the work with research, and what he did was he removed, he was personally responsible for removing the yellow dye that went into margarine, that mixed it into margarine to made it look like butter. And he knew how toxic that yellow dye was, and Dr. Arthur First went to bat and had it banned. But he took that yellow dye. Now listen, this is epic. This is epic. This was a yellow dye used to make margarine look like butter. Dr. First found that, this is epic, guys. Hold on, that when he fed the animals butter yellow dye, he could predict the day they would develop cancer and the kind of cancer they would develop. He also found that if he fed them the nutrients that he formulated in his BetaGuard, they would never develop the C word, even if they consumed butter yellow dye on a daily basis. This is huge. This is epic. I'm just quoting research here. BetaGuard is a powerful detoxifying supplement of great importance for survival in today's toxic world. This is why I tell everyone that has slipped into a chronic situation, they need to detox. And this is one of our main targets, is the BetaGuard for detox. Wow. This is epic and amazing information. So taking a look at what are some sources of vitamin D, butter, vitamin K is some of the dark leafy vegetables, but even avocados, grapes, green beans, kiwi, Granny Smith apples. And over here, you're seeing vitamin D is found in salmon, mushrooms, squid. I don't know about that one. Milk, butter, broccoli. But these are some natural sources for vitamin D. But again, your best source, can you tell me your best source for vitamin D? sun exposure, sunrise to about 10, 11 a.m. Support, boost, and defend. All right, let's take a look at how we're going to support, boost, and defend with phytodefense. Phytodefense contains carotenoid complex, flavonoid complex, cruciferous plus. This supplement contains concentrations of fruits and vegetables which have been shown to reduce the risk of developing certain things and slow its growth so it doesn't develop. Dr. First believed that everyone today should obtain adequate amounts of B vitamins. In fact, Dr. First quoted, "How are we supposed to survive when all our food is sprayed with pesticide?" His answer was, "I don't know how people do it who do not supplement with vitamin B complex." Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And this is our phytodefense here with all three of these complexes, cruciferous, flavonoid, and carotenoid. Here is the defend and detox formula of Dr. Arthur First, hand signature. It's a protection plan formulated specifically to assist in defending your body against harmful agents in the air, the water, and the food. Developed by world-renowned toxicologist, pioneer in cancer research, Dr. Arthur First, synergistically blended both antioxidants and detoxifying nutrients. Exclusive amino acid chelated supports, improves absorption and beneficial minerals. Wow. Wouldn't you say that was a pretty awesome, amazing research that he did? That he knew the time, the day, and the type of seed that the rats would get according to how much yellow dye he gave them. But when he gave them this formula here, they didn't matter how much yellow dye he gave the animal, they didn't get the C word. Quite amazing. Here is the clinically proven phytodefense, carotenoid, cruciferous, flavonoid. USDA research contained carotenoid complex, proven to boost your immunity 37% in 20 days. Powerful antioxidants protection from free radical damage for your cells. Provides the nutrient density and diversity of 25 carefully selected fruits and vegetables. Contains broad spectrum whole food carotenoids, flavonoids, and cruciferous, 100% natural, beyond organic, and tested and proven at the U.S. National Cancer Institute protocols to protect cells and tissue. I'm telling you, there's not anything else out on the market that has these credentials, these qualifiers. In order for a tool to qualify to repair or to meet the job, to get the job done, depends upon the quality of the tool that you're using, right? This is a qualified tool to get the job done. So exclusive difference, vegan D, woohoo, proprietary whole food source with vitamin D2, D3, has the two different formulas of D from human whole food sources, mushrooms, and deer lichen, is naturally sourced, which is free from allergens, gluten, and only completely vegan source vitamin D3 on the market. Wow. Big difference, big benefits. So the Pro Vitality always is your core. Everyone needs the core. There's not anyone on the planet that doesn't need the core. We're in a deficit. We're in a deficiency level. We all need omegas. We all need the dark color fruits and vegetables. We all need the lipid therapy for the cellular function. And we all need the basic 22 vitamins and minerals, including K1, K2, and biotin. We're on a mission to make the world a happier, healthier place, starting with you. Neolife is a worldwide nutritional company committed to ending the trend using superior quality nutrition as their weapon of choice. Clear values inspiring every action, helping to fulfill the mission. I am not a physician. These statements are not intended to cure, treat, heal any or prevent any dis-ease. These are studies that I've quoted from. And so the decision is left up to you on what kind of tool that you want to take to defend your body for health at the cellular level. Wow. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop share and then I'm going to stop the recording. Woohoo! Thank you for joining us.